Hi, this is Jeff from the Ozark Mountains in Missouri, USA. Today, just a quick video on using an Arduino to test a vintage component, specifically TI311 hex display. These nifty guys came out in the mid-1970s and have a 4-bit parallel input, and the built-in logic chip on here will convert that into the hexadecimal equivalent. It'll display it on the LEDs. It's a neat low parts count solution to displaying the hex value from something like a data bus or address bus on a piece of vintage computer gear. Now, these are still being made by the company that bought out the TI Optoelectronics division way back when, but they're rather expensive. You can get them on the secondhand market from eBay and places for $5 or $6 a piece, which is not cheap, but it's not too bad, considering the cost of new ones are in the $30 range, which is really expensive. I recently got a hold of 5 of these, and I wanted to test them out real quick to make sure that they were indeed okay. And I thought, well, I could use some dip switches and things like that, but that seemed rather cumbersome, and I had an Arduino lying around, so I thought, let's whip up a quick sketch to test this with the Arduino. And it's a good segue into an upcoming project where we use an Arduino to test things like DRAM chips. And it's a good simple introduction into how to go about cooking up a project like this and setting it all up and writing the code. Well, let's jump in and get started. Oh, before that, if you're a subscriber, thanks. I really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. It helps other people find the channel. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. If you look down below, you'll see a rectangular subscribe button. Just click on that guy and you'll be subscribed. Then if you click on the bell-shaped icon, you'll be notified just as soon as I post a new video. Now, I mention this because I noticed the other day that about 50% of the views on my videos are from non-subscribers. And if part of you would consider subscribing, that would really help out a lot. I would love to get over 1,000 subscribers. All right, for real this time, let's dive in. Whenever you're working on a project like this, datasheets are your best friend. They'll give you the very detailed specifications about timing and things like that, as well as tell you which pins are what, which is one of the most important things. Now, one thing that threw me off initially on this particular datasheet is that they show the pinout of the package from the bottom view, but at least they labeled it here. You might remember I said a few videos ago that when you're looking at pinouts, particularly ones that are online, you need to know what direction they were looking at that connector, and it's the same for the components. This is given a bottom view of the component turned over like this, so you kind of have to mentally flip this over to get a top view of the component. And I drew a little square on here to remind me that this is the side of the component with the chip in it, which you can see through the plastic. There's kind of a drawing of that right here. Now, the next most important thing is the description of what each pin does. This will tell you the name of the pin, what pin number it is, the type, if it's an input or power, and it gives you a nice description here of what it does. And the things to keep in mind when you're looking at these, like on the inputs, is it an active high or active low input? It says for the blanking input, when high, the display is blanked, regardless of the levels of the other inputs. So in other words, if this input is high, the display is going to go blank. When low, the character is displayed. So rather than calling this blanking, we might also think of it as an active low enable. Then we have data inputs, or ground. It has a separate power supply input for the LED power, for the digits, and the logic. This is important, as we'll see in a little bit, because these little guys are quite power hungry. So their idea here is that for the LEDs, since it has a built-in current limited circuitry in the display itself, you could use an unregulated voltage source for the LEDs. and then use your regulated 5 volts for the logic. And the decimal points, the left and right decimals, are not part of the hex digit display itself, so you need current limiting resistors for those. And it has a strobe input. And the strobe input is also active low. And whenever the strobe input goes from high to low, whatever value is on the 4 data lines up here gets latched to the display. And it'll stay there until the next time the strobe input goes low. After reading through the descriptions of what the pins do, I then printed out a copy of the Arduino Mega pinout diagram, because that's what I happen to have on hand to use. And I decided to use one of the side connectors here to be able to use all one port. And I made some notes right here beside the pins I'm going to use as to what they'll be for. This way I have a handy reference as I'm wiring things up. Now let's take a look at the actual setup on the Arduino, and then we'll take a look at the simple code that makes this all work. Oops. Here's our Arduino project, and it's fairly simple. There's only about 8 wires running down from this big connector on the side of this Arduino Mega 2560 that go to this tiny piece of breadboard. And these are the 4 data inputs, the strobe input, the blanking input, and the 2 decimal places. You notice I've got a couple 330 ohm resistors here, and that's just for the decimal places. I also have my multimeter set up here to measure the current that this thing is consuming, and you can see it's pretty high. This is in milliamps, so we're between 80 and 90 milliamps all the time, and in fact, when this isn't displaying anything, it still draws around 50 milliamps. So if you have 4 to 6 of these on your project, you're going to burn a lot of power just powering these, but they are neat. Let's get zoomed in so you can see that digit a little nicer. So it starts out as 0, and it counts up through F with a second or two pause between each number. You notice the individual LEDs that make up each number. I think that looks rather neat. And then it'll stay at F, and it'll blank it a few times using that blanking input, so we can see that's working. And then it'll alternately flash the decimal points on either side of the digit. And then it starts over. Now I could have sped this up a little bit, but what I did is I plugged each of these into the breadboard, and I let her run for 5 to 10 minutes to make sure that they were okay. So, nice, simple way to test something like this. Okay, here is our bit of code that makes all of this work, and no doubt the first thing you're going to notice is that this looks like Visual Studio. It does not look like the Arduino IDE, and you're right. I'm using a plugin for the free version of Visual Studio, Visual Studio Community 2019. The free plugin is called Visual Micro. While you can use Visual Micro for free, you can also buy a license which enables you to use the built-in debugger, which is quite nice. The reason I like using this is that it is a much nicer environment than the Arduino IDE, although the projects that you create with Visual Micro can also be opened and worked with the regular Arduino IDE too. All this code is up on my GitHub site, and I'll put a link to that in the description, as well as a link to the Visual Micro and Visual Studio Community Edition websites. So what I did here was just make a quick table that shows the Mega port and pins, what that corresponds to on the Arduino. This is the side connector, where that goes to on the display itself, and what the name of those signals are on the display itself. This way it should make it easy to figure out how to hook things up. We've got a few defines here, which just tell us which bits of the port are for which signals. So we have the low nibble, the low 4 bits are the data lines, and then we have the left decimal, the right decimal, the blanking line, and the strobe. And actually, I just realized that this is incorrect. This is actually a active high. If we think of that as an enable, then we could think of it as active low. But since TI called it a blank, we'll do the same thing. Our setup is very simple. We're setting up our port. This just sets all the outputs on that port to low. And we set our blanking output low, so it's not blanked. We can think of that as an enable. And then we set all our other control signals, the decimal point and the strobe high, which in effect turns them off. And then we're going to set that port to all outputs. So we first set up the default value of the outputs before making those pins outputs. That way we don't see the display doing strange things ahead of time. And in the loop here, we first clear all the data output bits, and then we output our loop index. We lower the strobe and then raise the strobe. That will latch that value into the display, and then we pause 2 seconds. So we just go through from 0 through F. And I noted here in the comments that at this point it should be displaying an F. So we use the blank line to flash the whole display on and off 4 times. Then after that, we display the decimal points back and forth 4 times. We add in a display here at the end so we can see that last time there after we turn the decimal point off, and it'll start over again. And then to switch displays, I was just pulling the power wire to the from the Arduino to the breadboard, swapping the display out and plugging that back in. As you can see, this is pretty simple code. I chose to use the port method of twiddling the bits rather than the individual pin method. The port method is a little faster, and in my mind it's a little clearer when you're dealing with a group of bits, like for the data here, what it's doing. And individually twiddling bits that are in a port-wide, things like that, aren't hard. If anybody wants me to go through how that's done, what all this anding and oring and complementing is doing, just let me know and I'll do another video on that. As I mentioned before, this code is up on my GitHub, and I will put the link in the description down below. Here's the GitHub page. So you would clone or download the project as normal. And if you're using the Arduino IDE, you would just open up the INO file as normal. If you are using the Visual Micro plugin for Visual Studio, you would open the .sln, the .solution file. The first time you open up the solution file, you notice that Visual Studio will create a folder and a few more files that have to do with the build process, but they're not part of the project as it is saved on GitHub, because those will be different for every person. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short video about using an Arduino to test components. There'll be a few more along this same theme coming up in the near future. If you look down below, you'll find a subscribe button. It's kind of a rectangular guy like that, and if you click on him, it'll subscribe you to the channel. I would really appreciate that. Then you'll see a bell-shaped icon, and if you click on that, YouTube will be nice enough to let you know just as soon as I post a new video. That way you won't miss it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Well, until next time, bye.